On February 24, 2022, Russia launched an invasion on Ukraine, resulting in the displacement of 20 million Ukraine citizens in the last 10 months. Our media team recently had the opportunity to sit down with Inna Sinkevych to talk about Mission Eurasia, a nonprofit organization who devotes their work to serving in Eurasian countries, spreading the gospel, and providing humanitarian relief in Ukraine. This is her story.
My name is Inna Sinkevych. I was born and grew up in Ukraine. And as for my story, I grew up in a large family. I have 4 younger brothers. We lived in a tiny apartment. My family was a Christian, and we always went to church. And that's where I actually heard English for the first time when I was a teenager. Going to church, some things were very traditional, but when I read about personal relationship with God, I just realized that something I need, like the deep connection with God and love for Him. And I remember that night, I just went on my knees and I prayed and I said, God, I give you my life and I give you to your service and to the service of people. And I've been on a very interesting journey since then, and He's done a lot of amazing things.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about Ukrainian culture?
The first thing that comes to my mind, we are very hospitable and friendly. We love having people come to our house. We can be known as a little stern people, more serious. But when we smile, we are very genuine. And lately you probably found out that we are also very strong and brave people.
So we've heard a lot about Ukrainians and their bravery since the war started. Could you tell me about what's happening over there now and what specifically your organization that you work with, Mission Eurasia, what they're doing?
Things are still very hard in Ukraine. The war is still going on. Right now, it's mainly in the 4 regions, like Eastern Ukraine and Southern. I don't know if you hear on the news, but the regions are Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. There are heavy battles happening even as we speak right now. A lot of people have been evacuated. The sad things that we hear right now, that people who used to live on those territories that are taken by Russians right now, people are taken to Russia. They're evacuated by force. And at the same time, missiles are still flying all around Ukraine. There are still attacks, and recently a lot of attacks on critical infrastructure. So power outage, no water, phones, the connection doesn't work. It's still going on all the time. I just talked to my friends a couple of days ago, and they we're sitting in this dark house because you hear some airplanes or missiles or rockets flying, and you don't know what's happening. Where are they going? Where are they going to hit? What's happening? And the same with the air raid sirens. When you hear them, you know they are there for a reason, and a missile can hit your house, your home, and it can get destroyed. And also with the refugees, we have 7.5 million refugees in other countries that had to flee Ukraine because it's very dangerous in their area, and around 8 million people in Ukraine that are displaced. Think of little children who have lost their homes, their parents. They either have to try to study online or look for a school. But if they are outside of the country, they have to learn the language. Parents have to look for a job, well, mostly moms, because fathers stay behind to protect Ukraine. I cannot even think of the day when we find out the real numbers and of the people who lost their lives fighting for freedom, fighting to live in a free country, freedom of religion, of speech and everything, because that's something that Russia doesn't have. But the good thing, there is always good thing to the bad things, And the good thing is that there are a lot of people, churches, organizations that are giving of themselves to help people who are struggling, to people who are in need, people who don't have food. The organization that I work for is also responding to that need.
What are some specific projects that Mission Eurasia has been working on, and how have they responded in response to the war?
Mission Eurasia's motto is train to lead, equipped to serve. So we've been working for 30 years in former Soviet Union, which is Eurasia, training and equipping young Christian leaders to serve more effectively if you want, in their communities. So basically, discipleship, outreach programs, church planting. We have a lot of different projects, but since the war started in Ukraine, our main focus has been to help as many people as possible. We started with evacuating them, with providing shelter for them, and then we saw that there was so much need in food. So we started putting food packages together. They are called I Care, to show that we care for them. It's a box filled with most important food items, but at the same time, it's not just physical food. Our focus is always on providing some spiritual food too. That's why we include a Bible or a New Testament in the box. So when people eat and get their bellies full, they can also read and get something for their hearts. They can get hope. They can understand that even though they are going through a hard time, God is still with them. And it's beautiful because in the midst of suffering, you see how God takes care of people. We are doing another project to provide wood-burning stoves. It's a stove that would make people warm when there is no heating, but also you can cook on it.
Are there any stories on the ground in Ukraine that you want to share with us?
The story that I would like to share with you right now is of a boy. His name is Sasha. When I first saw his picture, I was really touched because he is holding a box with food that we had just given him. His house is the only house on the street that is still not destroyed. His mom is so traumatized by the war that she doesn't leave the house. His father is not at home, and he has to be the provider for the family. He's only 13, and he has also 2 little sisters. It just broke my heart, and you can see his face that he's lived through some hard things. The good thing that I heard today, actually, is that they were able to move to a different village. Is much safer. And he said that he would read the Bible to his little sisters because the box also contained a children's Bible. That was something that made my day to know that Sasha and his family are safer today.
Can you speak some on how Russia invading Ukraine has specifically affected faith-based communities?
We have an Institute for Religious Freedom in Ukraine, and they report that 270 religious buildings and sacred places have been damaged or destroyed. Our building, our office, Mission Eurasia office in Irpin, right outside of Kyiv, was also one of the buildings that was destroyed. We had a big warehouse with Bibles and Christian printed materials, and they took everything up and they burnt everything. But the thing is, we are determined. You destroy our office, you destroy and burn our Bibles, but that's not gonna stop us. We have printed, I think, more than we printed in the past, so this cannot be stopped.
So is there any way that us as Americans can help with everything?
Thank you. That's a really beautiful question. First of all, pray. Please join us in prayer. Also, what you're doing through this project, raising awareness, is also something that people in your country can do. And people who can give and want to give, Mission Eurasia is one of the ministries they can give to. I'd like to bring it back to the Word and read a verse that has been very special for Mission Eurasia, and I'll read it in Ukrainian. «Бо голодував я, і ви дали мені їсти. Спраглим був, і ви мене напоїли. Чужинцем був я, і ви мене прийняли».
Thank you so much. We can't wait to see all the good that Mission Eurasia is going to continue to do and that they have been doing through such a trying and horrible time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and for giving me this opportunity to share about my country, about my people, and Mission Eurasia that does the work for Ukrainians, not only in Ukraine, but also in Poland and Moldova, where we serve a lot of refugees, and across Eurasia too. So thank you.